Hi, this is Marvelous Mark here from the Off the Rope Show with the last year 4 regional brackets. This one is the Midwest bracket. Starting off with the number 1 seed in the bracket, North Carolina. They will be playing the 16 seed Vermont, and well, there's not much to say about this matchup because Harrison Barnes, John Henson, Kendall Marshall, you name it, they're going to be too much for this Vermont team. Vermont will go down and go down hard. North Carolina will win this one, probably pretty big. Okay, next you have the 8-9 matchup between Creighton and Alabama. Creighton won the Missouri Valley Conference this year, and I really don't know how Alabama got in this tournament, especially as a 9 seed. Maybe they could have been a lower seed, but I don't believe they should have been a 9. But I believe Creighton will win this game, which will set up a matchup of 2 Ames High School ball players. Harrison Barnes against Doug McDermott. Doug McDermott being the son of former Iowa State and Northern Iowa head coach Greg McDermott, and I think Creighton will win this game. Okay, next you have your 5-12 matchup between Temple and the winner of Cal and South Florida, and from the looks of things, barring a miraculous comeback, I think you're going to see South Florida in the 12th spot. And actually, I actually picked South Florida in this game, even though they haven't been in the tournament since 1992, and they've never won an NCAA tournament game. But I think that will change tonight, and I think they will beat Temple on Friday. Okay, next you have the 4-13 matchup between Michigan and Ohio. Michigan-Ohio State, that's a great rivalry. Michigan versus Ohio U, not so much, but Michigan will win this game behind their guards Trey Burke and Tim Hardaway Jr. I think they're going to be too much for Ohio to stop. Okay, next you have the 6-11 matchup between San Diego State and NC State. NC State's making their first appearance in the tournament since 2006. While San Diego State is led by Conference Player of the Year Jamal Franklin. But NC State has all 5 starters in double figures led by CJ Leslie, and I would not be surprised to see NC State win this game, but I believe that San Diego State will. I think it'll be a really close game, but I think San Diego State will come out on top. Okay, next you have the 3-14 matchup between Georgetown and Belmont. Belmont early in the season played at Duke and almost beat them in Cameron Indoor Stadium, whereas Georgetown was one of the big surprises in the Big East this year. And Belmont is one of the hottest teams in the nation. They've won 14 in a row. But I think their winning streak ends here. I think Georgetown will pull this out. Okay, next you have the 7-10 matchup between, we've seen St. Mary's, the champions of the West Coast Conference, against the at-large team in Purdue from the Big Ten. I think St. Mary's will win this game due to Matthew Dellavedova, and I think Purdue I thought they were pretty iffy to get into the tournament, but that's why I think St. Mary's will win this game in advance. Then finally you have the number 2 seed Kansas against number 15 seed Detroit, who won the Horizon League this year. But Kansas is led by National Player of the Year candidate Thomas Robinson and Tyshawn Taylor, and a lot of people think they're going to have a tough go in this game, but I'm not one of those people. I think Kansas should win this game going away, and they will advance. Okay, the first of the round of 32 matchups will feature North Carolina against Creighton. Like I said earlier in the segment, it's going to be Harrison Barnes against Doug McDermott. They were both high school teammates at Ames High School in Iowa, and I just think North Carolina is going to be too much for Creighton to handle. I mean, Doug McDermott's had a great year, but I think North Carolina is just too strong for him with Zeller, and if he's healthy, and Harrison Barnes, Kendall Marshall, I think they're going to be too much. I think North Carolina will advance. Okay, the next matchup I have is South Florida going up against Michigan. I think Michigan's guard play is going to be too much in this game. I mean, South Florida does play good defense, but one thing I didn't mention is that they do turn the ball over a lot for a team that doesn't get a lot of possessions because of the way they play. But I think Michigan will win this game. Next match I have is San Diego State going up against Georgetown. I think Georgetown has been a big surprise this year, and I think they'll keep the momentum rolling against a San Diego State team, which they lost 4 starters from last year's team, but they still managed to finish in a tie for the Mountain West regular season title. But I think Georgetown will win this one. Okay, next you have the 2-7 matchup in the round of 32 with St. Mary's and Kansas. I think Kansas, along with Robinson and Tyshawn Taylor and Jeff Withey, really came on later on in the year. I mean, he's blocking shots left and right, and I think those 3 alone that's gonna be too much for St. Mary's to handle, and I see Kansas advancing in this one. Okay, the first Sweet 16 matchup, I have North Carolina going up against Michigan. Basically what it is, it's Michigan's guard play against the front line of North Carolina, and I think the front line of North Carolina will prevail in this one. And I just think North Carolina's going to be too strong for them. I see them going to the Elite Eight. Okay, the other Sweet 16 matchup I have is Georgetown against Kansas. Georgetown's had a good year, but I think it'll end here because, I mean, Bill Self this year, yeah, he was co-coach of the year in the Big 12 along with Fred Hoiberg. But, I mean, just for what he did this year, I mean, when you win 8 conference titles in a row, like regular season, not necessarily the tournament itself, but regular season, you're doing something right, and I see them going to the Elite Eight. Alright, my Elite Eight matchup is I have North Carolina against Kansas. This could be an all-time classic, I think. This matchup could be pretty epic. It's Roy Williams at his current school against the team he used to coach. I think, oh, there's a lot of lottery picks in this matchup. I think North Carolina is going to New Orleans. I really do. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas did either. But I picked North Carolina. Well, there you have them, folks. My Final Four predictions. And coming up soon, I will have a Final Four video which details who I think is going to win the Final Four matchups and who will meet in the national championship, and who I picked to cut down the nets in New Orleans. So for now, this is Marvelous Mark from the Off the Rope Show. Since 2010, we've been entertaining ourselves while you watch us. Good night, everybody.